Why is this lady talking about aliens and stuff? The fact that we are not alone in this universe, holy moly, can your reality become fun? Of course, we come from the stars and there's other species out there that planted seeds here. I had a lot of other multidimensional experiences with higher dimensional beings. First, I thought I'd lost my mind, so I reached out to several other channelers, finally starting to become normal to talk about these things publicly. Hi guys, and welcome to this episode. This is going to be an exciting follow-up episode to the previous ET contact episode. In this episode, I'm going to share a little bit more with you about my own personal story. So for those of you who haven't known me for a while, you might be curious, like, why is this lady talking about aliens and stuff? What's the deal with that? So I'm going to share with you my own personal story. And this episode is going to be very empowering for you because I'm going to give you some reminders of your true creational powers, and then I'll share with you why that's relevant to ET contact. So for those of you who are excited about ET contact, who know it's on the horizon, who know it's actually already here, this episode is for you, and I encourage you to listen with open ears and with an open heart. And I hope that this episode inspires anyone who's had multidimensional experiences or is curious about multidimensional experiences, or maybe you've had ET contact experiences and you're feeling shy or you're hiding and you don't want to share about it because it's weird. Well, welcome to the new era where weird is cool, because it's not weird anymore. I'm so happy about this year that we're in and this new chapter for humanity, because now it's finally starting to become normal to talk about these things publicly. Before, people who've had ET contact experiences, they used to have to hide and talk about it in privacy, and it wasn't something that most people felt comfortable sharing, out there in the public. But now, finally, with so much science and information and data coming out about the fact that we are not alone in this universe, it's becoming easier for so many more of us to share our experiences without being shamed or silenced or feel ridiculed. So grab a cup of tea. This is going to get cozy. And I'm going to start off sharing a little bit my experience with ETs, ET contact, multidimensional experiences, and all that jazz. So I can say that it started very, very early on. It wasn't like I had an abduction experience that I can remember, but I remember from very early on that it was just a knowing. In my heart, I was like, oh yeah, we're not alone in the universe, and obviously we come from somewhere else. And to me it seemed obvious, because if you look at humanity and how vastly different we are from other species and how different we operate, as a child I was like, yeah, well, of course we come from the stars and there's other species out there that planted seeds here and kind of like made another home here on planet Earth. And a funny thing that I will share with you, confirmation that I got when I think I was like 10. And if you're familiar with Daft Punk, the band Daft Punk, I'm a huge fan. I love them so much. In when was this? 1997 or something. They came out with an album. And with that album, they released it as a whole music video, and it's called Interstellar 5555. That's the name of the music video. And it's kind of like a short movie. And what it depicts is kind of like an insight into the history of humanity and our relation with extraterrestrials. Go Google it, look it up, watch the video. It's very sweet, and it's kind of on point. Where there's these blue beings coming to planet Earth, and there's a bit of a veil happening. People are forgetting, they don't remember where we're coming from. Everyone's wondering, what's going on. Some of the dark side of the evolution of humanity is depicted there too, especially with the music industry. And then there's a big, reunion with our star families in the end. And this is kind of where we're going. And I remember when I was 10 and I saw this music video, and there's these star beings that come to planet Earth, and there's this big family reunion, basically. I was like, oh yeah, there you see, there it is. This is what we're doing. And I would show it to my friends, and they'd just be like, laugh at me and thought I was silly. And it's just like, they're like, that's this cartoon. Like, what are you talking about? So then, things got a little shut down for me, and I didn't care so much about our connection to our star families. And that was kind of the norm until I was in my late 20s, when I was like, okay, it's time to fully get on board with what I know is true. So long story short, the way that I got introduced into opening myself up to my own multidimensionality was through a series of different events. It was interesting how the universe orchestrated for me to be a part of a channeling program where they taught us how to channel, but I got introduced to it as being a buddy for someone. So I had a friend who needed someone to practice with. So he wanted to learn how to channel and he needed someone to practice with. So he was like, can you come and do this course with me about channeling? Because I need to learn it. And I was like, yeah, cool. I'll be down to do that. That sounds awesome. And I was already into listening to lots of channelers at this time. This is quite a long time ago, but I didn't think that it would be anything for me. I had this fascination with everything out there and this knowing in my heart that obviously we have genes and imprints that are not from Earth. I hadn't really turned on my own multidimensionality to a greater extent yet. So I did this course with him, and then I didn't do much about that because I was quite busy working on some projects at the time, but obviously that activated me and gave me some tools and abilities to work with. And I did some practice behind the scenes because I learned some highly effective channeling methods. But I put that on the back burner, continued with my work at the time. And then I was opened up to the world of plant medicines, and I was fascinated with going into the shamanic realm. So I chose to go on a journey, and this is what a lot of people don't know about me, is that I went deep into the shamanic realm and went in deep into the medicine and plant medicine realm, and was served a lot of medicine, was trained in serving a lot of medicine, and have had countless ceremonies with various medicines, obviously in ethical ways. And that was a very sacred part of my life, a very, very sacred part of my life. And I think the combination of learning channeling tools and then having my consciousness being opened up so much through shamanic experiences, it prepared my body and mind and psyche to be open for what's to come. So here we are. There's this night where it all happened, which I'm going to tell you right now. What happened? What was it that took place on this night? So I remember sitting with my friends, and two of them, and I started having this interesting feeling in my body, and I felt like I was going to leave my body. And I've left my body a lot of times, so that's not unfamiliar to me. I know how to do that in a safe way. But they're there, so I just checked in with them, like, hey, it feels like I'm going to leave my body. Is that all right with you guys? And they're like, yeah, do what you need to do. And I didn't even know what was going to happen, but I could just feel urge to leave my body. So I gave myself permission to leave my body, and then for the next 4 hours, several councils of light, several beings came through me and channeled messages for my friends there and for myself. And it was all very on point. It was all very magical. It was a mind-blowing experience that left us all a little bit shocked and taken aback. So at the end of it, we all went to bed. And then the next day in the morning, I remember us all saying to each other, like, what, did that really happen? And we all were like, yeah, that actually did happen. So after that, I did a reality check with myself because at first I thought I'd lost my mind. So I reached out to several other channelers, told them about my experience, and they said, don't worry, you're not crazy. This is how it goes down. This is how it can go down. Now here's what to do. So I spoke with several experts who've had plenty of experience with channeling and speaking with beings in other dimensions, and are trained in this, and they gave me some guidelines on what to do so that I could stabilize myself and ground myself and know how to use myself as a vessel for service by channeling. So I made a decision to work with the Arcturian Council of Light, and I did that for several years. That was a very beautiful chapter of my life. Of course, I'm still connected with them. As you can see on the forefront, I've grounded myself into more of a business persona. I'm going to tell you more about this in a second. But behind the scenes, holy moly, there's so much going on. And I want to share this because I know that there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that have a very spiritual experience behind the scenes. And it doesn't mean that we have to put everything out there about our intimate spiritual experiences. Not at all. However, it's not something to be shy about. You don't have to be shy about it. And I'm speaking to people who have a calling to be a part of ET contact and bring that forward. And that's why I'm sharing my story. So we're going to get to ET contact in a little bit as well. So just to finalize my story, I was working with the Arcturian Council for several years in one-on-one and group settings, primarily to work on healing, because our Arcturian Council, I love them so much. They're very funny. They have a really funny sense of humor, not in a in a way where they're mocking you, but they're just humorous. They're lighthearted, and obviously they're highly advanced, and they're so good in healing technologies. So in my healing sessions with people, I would be working on their energetic field, their emotional body, their physical body, their mental body, all the spirit body, all the bodies, and help them and assist them in their healing so that they could live healthier, happier lives and all that. So that comes with healing, ascending and rising up on the scale of consciousness. So it was so much fun to work with Arcturian Council, and I still do behind the scenes with so much love. And I have to be honest, I put it on the back burner, obviously, once I put a stronger footing into the world of sales and business. And I love the world of sales and business. And you're going to see me do a lot more when it comes to helping my team, helping women rise in their financial independence, and creating a strong, solid foundation for women and families out there so that they can live with peace of mind because their finances are taken care of, because they have a business that's running smoothly. Like, that is really important. And the reason I emphasize this and I'm so passionate about this is because when you have passive income streams and a business that works for you instead of you working for your business, then you know the hierarchy of needs, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You know how it goes. Once you know you're safe, you have a comfortable house, a luxurious house, you have all your bills, everything taken care of, you don't have to worry about expenses, and you can cover all of your needs and your family's needs plus more, and have a bougie life and do all the holidays and have the time and all of that. What does that free up for you then? What can you then focus on? Your spiritual evolution, your hobbies, your passions, your creativity, the things that you want to create. Because you can't focus on what you want to create and your passions and your hobbies when you're in survival mode, when you're just trying to get by, when you're just like struggling to pay the bills. And this is where I don't agree so much with the common standard of the societal norms, where it's just like, oh yeah, that's just how it is. Just work 40 hours a week and never see your family and hardly get by. That's not, like, I just don't agree with that. I don't think that's how we're going to live our lives. And people can disagree with me. I respect everyone's opinion, but mine, nah. I think people should be able to thrive, have passive income, enjoy their lives, and really get in touch with what do they want to do? What kind of life do you want to create? So again, I know earlier I said we're going to get to remembering your creational abilities, and we're going to get to that juicy part in a second. But finalizing my story here, and they're one council that I worked with, and I've had a lot of other multidimensional experiences with higher dimensional beings. So it's very close to my heart. And in the beginning of my journey, when I was exposed and more opened up and participated actively in this realm, it was still a little weird. It was still a little like, yeah, people would still ask like, oh, do you believe in aliens? Like, that was still a common question. Now that's obliterated because there's so much coming out even from the governments that it just confirms, obviously, that we're not alone in the universe. So I'm happy to see that the question of, oh, is it real? Do you believe in it? Is becoming obsolete, because obviously it's real. So it's so much easier now for people who've had experiences with ETs, who've had their multidimensional experiences. I know there's a lot of people who are into light language, but they don't want to share it because they feel weird. Now's the time for you to really come out with all of your multidimensional gifts. Like, it is incredible what you can do with your multidimensionality in terms of healing yourself, in terms of healing others, in terms of coming together and creating magic. So this is what we are entering, a really exciting time where people can biolocate, teleport, use telekinesis, be fully telepathic. I know a lot of you already are, and really turn on a lot of these amazing gifts where you don't have to work so hard and you don't have to conform to the social norms of just like hustle and struggle and just like really boring life. When you start to turn on the gifts that are dormant inside of you, like, holy moly, can your reality become fun? Like, even if you already have a fun reality, like, we can turn it up 100 times, because that's what we're here to do, right? As creator beings. And I want to segue now into allowing you to remember how supported you are. It can feel a lot of times like, we live in this terrible world and there's so much density and polarity and there's war and conflict and people are mean and such a low level of consciousness and da-da-da-da. And to some degree, that's kind of true. It's out there. You know, we see that people have the free will to exercise their sovereignty. We're all sovereign beings, and we can use our free will to do what we want to do. And that's proof of how supported we are in this universe. And I know this is going to sound a little bit weird, but hear me out, because this year is about integration, integrating the polarities. And it's not about choosing good over bad and trying to eradicate the bad. It's about understanding that both are there and you are the middle point that can choose. And there's no moral judgment on either. So the universe that we live in, God, source, creator of it all, doesn't place moral judgment on the things that you choose, because you are unconditionally supported in whatever you choose to do. Unconditionally. So source, creator, all that is unconditional love. So this is where people get a little hung up because they think, oh, I made the wrong decision and took the wrong timeline and I was evil there. So now I'm going to be beaten up. And in my life review, God's going to punish me and all my spirit guides are going to say, shame on you, go back and do it over again. It's actually not like that. The only judge of your experiences and what you do is you at the end of the day. And if you've listened to any NDE, near-death experiences interviews, then they all say the same. There's no punishing force that's going to shame you for all the things that you did. And there's so many people, especially in the realm of addiction, who've almost died of overdose and crossed over to the other line. And then their angel that's appointed to them and their spirit guides go, it's not your time. Gotta go back. You got some more stuff to do. This is your contract. They weren't punished. Most people who have near-death experiences, and also people who do plant medicines and have ceremonial experiences, also people who are very experienced in high-level meditation and are able to reach samadhi, they understand that there is a pure, unconditionally loving energy on the other side, although there is no other side because it's all here with us right now, right? Because it's part of all creation. So you can let go of this idea that, oh, you should be ashamed of what you're doing, or you need to be a better person, or you've made so many mistakes, or anything that creates shame, basically, in your body. Just goodbye, get rid of it. And this doesn't mean that you enable yourself to act like you know what, because most likely if you're listening to this podcast, you're aware of operating from your heart consciousness is what's best for you, best for everyone. By the way, I do have a heart consciousness activation on YouTube. It's very popular. I recommend to go listen to it. So we don't really have to worry about this anymore. If you're listening to this podcast, if you're part of the wave of awakening, if you are connected to your multidimensionality, you have this inner compass of what's right and wrong, you're following your intuition, you can let go of being so hard on yourself. So I'm just going to remind you again, you are the creator of all that is. And you are unconditionally supported in everything that you choose. That includes your beliefs. So in the previous episodes, I was talking about belief systems. And this is how you know that you are unconditionally supported in everything that you do, everything that you think, everything that you believe. Because even with your limiting beliefs, creator, source, will support you unconditionally with your limiting beliefs. This is why people can go really far off into the darkness, because if people choose to go far off into the darkness, source, consciousness, God, your spirit guides, no one's going to stop you. If that's what you want to do, they're going to go, okay, you go over there and play for a second until you're tired of that. And then you're unconditionally forgiven too. So sometimes people are like, oh, I don't think we live in a benevolent universe. I think this is a world full of evil and punishment. And it's not God, source, or creator that's evil. So there's so many people who think that we live in an evil universe and it's filled with so much awfulness, and because of that, creator must be awful. It's not creator that's awful. Creator is allowing people to exercise their free will. And it's the same way with AI. People think, oh no, AI is going to take over and AI is mean and it's going to destroy us. Who's programming the AI? We have to manage ourselves. We have to manage our thoughts, our belief systems, the way that we are creating reality. And so many people now are realizing like, whoa, this is true. We are actually creating our reality every nanosecond. So it can be an exhilarating thing to wake up to, and it can be a little bit scary. This is why I have a lot of these episodes on nervous system regulation and subconscious reprogramming, because it's like you're learning how to ride a bicycle and you need some supporting wheels. We're all waking up here together, and it's okay that we can help each other out because we're all connected and we're all part of the same, right? the same divine energy flows through us all. So how does all of this tie into ET contact? You might be like, so ET contact, well, how is this connected? You are a part of creating the ET contact experience. It's not a pre-decided thing where the beings out there are just going to suddenly insert themselves because now's the time and they just feel like it. It's a co-created experience, and they are paying attention to our level of readiness and how we are actively inviting it in. So there's been several contact experiences where they've made attempts and then they've seen people freak out, and then they've observed that response and they're like, okay, they're not ready. Let's wait a little longer. A couple of years pass. They do another one. People freak out. Okay, they're not ready. Now, people are doing active ET contact experiences. They're going to activations. They're healing. They're working on their trauma. They're becoming kinder, better human beings. And people are actively participating in communicating with extraterrestrials. And fun announcement that I have. So I've been all in on business for a really long time now, and I will continue to be because it's so much fun, because I love seeing people prosper in health and wealth. And pretty soon, for those of you who've been following me on social media, you know that we're moving to Bali in just a few months in April. And once we're over there, I have some other projects that I got to finish here first. Once we're over in Bali, I am going to be hosting ET contact experiences. I am going to be channeling for a lot of people, helping people get their physical vessels and their minds and their bodies ready for ET contact, getting them more connected to their spirit guides, to their star teams who've all been there with them this entire time because you made an agreement. For those of you who are listening and you know, this is for me, I am going to experience this. I will support you and assist you with getting you ready for what's to come, because it's a really exciting time. In the previous episode, I talked about how we're going to be interacting with the Pleiadians and the Yaels to begin with, because they are the species that look most similar to us, that won't be so shocking. You know, if you had a mantis being suddenly show up at your door, you'd probably freak out. And even with the beings that are higher dimensional but that still look like us, because of their immense high frequency, it's still overwhelming. So we gotta get ready. And the way that we get ready is by raising our own frequency. So you working on healing your traumas, you working on letting go, you working on forgiving yourself, you working on just coming back home to yourself in your heart, is what's going to bring you closer and closer to ET contact. And I also want to install this knowing that it's already here. They're already around us all the time, whether you can see them or not. So my invitation to you is start communicating more with your star team, with your spirit guides, because they're with you all the time. You're also born with an angel that's watching over you. And this is what's confirmed by a lot of people who've had near-death experiences, is that when they almost pass and they are almost going to the other side, they get sent back by their angel, because there's an agreed time for everyone for when to go. So you can communicate with your guardian angel. You can communicate with your star team every day, right now. You can have contact right now. And if you're like, I don't know how, sit in meditation and make it fun. So you don't have to sit in meditation and get annoyed because you can't hear anything. You can do fun things. And what do I mean by fun things? A little fun thing that I do sometimes without any expectation. So this is not to prove to yourself or to them. They have nothing to prove. Why would they need to prove themselves to humans? You know, that would be hilarious. So don't do any exercises to try to prove anything, because that just comes from ego. Create a playful experience with them by placing things in your home that's designated to them. Have an altar where every day you can communicate with them, a designated place where you can communicate with them. This will begin to open up your telepathic communication with them. Then you can do other fun things. For example, a little fun thing that I do, sometimes I say, show me a little sign today. And sometimes I assign what the sign will be. Maybe it's a star. So one day I remember I just play with them a little bit, and I would say, show me a star today. That would be fun. And then randomly, Shane and I, we had a little detour. We were going to go to a restaurant and it was closed. So we went to another restaurant, and then on the sign on the restaurant, it's just filled with stars. Another thing that I did, it was a sunny day, and for some reason I thought about rainbows. Someone was talking about rainbows, and I was like, I love rainbows. And I was like, that'd be fun if you guys showed me a rainbow today. On that sunny day, suddenly turned into a rainy day. I go out on our patio, I turn around, and there's a big fat rainbow And I was like, oh, you guys are cool. So you can do these things to start to train your mind to be able to perceive synchronicities that your angels and your star team are placing there for you. They're always working on your behalf. But sometimes we get so caught up in our daily things and I got to do that and I got to do this, and we get really 3D that we're not even paying attention to how much we're showered with support and love and signs. So begin to open yourself up to see the signs from the unseen, because even if you can't see them with your physical eyes, they are here. They're communicating with you every single day, and all you need to do is listen. Take a little bit of time to get out of your head and just pay attention to reality. You notice sometimes when you're at home and you're just working on things and you're walking around and suddenly you just haven't taken a second to just notice the tree that's outside of your window. One thing that I love to do is look at clouds. I have a fascination with clouds. I know that some of them are cloaked spaceships. I just know. They do that, and I'm like, oh, I see you. Take a second to look at the stars. Just have more of these little micro mini moments in the day. We just allow yourself to notice things. When you start to do that, so much more magic is going to start streaming into your life, because it's only once you start to show the universe, your reality, hey, I'm paying attention, then they're going to give you more. Because if you're not paying attention, what's the point of giving you signs? And then people are like, oh, I don't get any signs. Well, you're not paying attention. You're so focused on this and that and other things and gossiping about Joe and Sam and gossiping about this and that. And you're not opening your eyes to what's right in front of you. So take some mini moments in the day to just be present and use your inner voice to communicate with your star team, with your guardian angels, and you will get responses very soon. So I'm very excited about what's ahead. Like I said, I'm going to be hosting workshops in Bali and meditations and activations to get you switched on and open and ready for ET contact. We're going to have a lot of fun there. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to let me know. And I love hearing your feedback and your excitement about these episodes. I've been getting a lot of messages from you guys. So if you have any questions around ET contact, ask me. This is what this is for. And I'm so happy to be here to support you in your journey. So thank you so much for tuning in. Share this episode with your friends. Subscribe. That really helps the podcast. And I will see you in the next episode.